Never mind. I've got £73.5 million in my profit-only bank. And what this team is lacking is goals. We can't keep relying on Rafael Leao from the wings if we want to win the Champions League. However, I feel like we already have the answer in Andros. But of course, we need Nascimento to realise that. Andros could be world class as a striker if he's given the opportunity. Currently, his favourite is still Ansu Fati, who still looks good, but his stats, especially goals, isn't cutting it. Gotta be aware of this too. PSG are trying to sign Jurrien Timber, but that's way too low to accept. Now, I like Timber, but if they did come in for over £100 million, I'm accepting that because there's a signing I really want to make. And within a week, they are back at it again, so let's try and push them from 70 million to 115 million, and surprisingly, they're okay with paying the extra 45 million on top. And of course, he accepts the move and we say goodbye to Jurrien Timber, who we bought in for almost half the price 3 seasons ago at 62 million. So with 188.5 million pound now, I genuinely thought about bringing Araujo back for 81 million. I also nearly went for Reece James, but because of the England counting as a foreign player, I couldn't, so instead, I'm going for Pedro Pereira of Spurs, who is seeking Champions League football. And this should be fairly easy contract to negotiate, and you might be wondering why I'm replacing Timber with a right back. You see, Nascimento has been playing Koundé at right back, who I don't think is the best option for that attacking fullback, and I'd rather see him play centre back. And Nascimento has been using Upamecano and Kalulu as a centre back partnership. 2 bids already coming in for Pedri and another here from Liverpool, and he has a £150 million release clause in his contract. Another little gem my scouts have found though is from Bulgaria, who cost absolutely nothing in comparison and could grow into a world-class player or just a huge profit after a couple of loan spells. Now, I'm fed up with messing around with Liverpool. If they want Pedri, they will have to cough up the £150 million release clause. They don't. Atletico Madrid are trying to sign my youngster Ivan, who I have been loaning out, but I ain't selling it to them. He is, however, going to go out on loan again to Almeria for regular starts at the club with perfect training facilities. They're even better than ours, and we're bloody Barcelona. I think my scouts just found the best Saudi Arabian player I've ever seen. These mentals on this player is phenomenal. And he's interested to sign, and I'm super tempted to bring him in. In fact, I have to bring him in. I can't resist, and you haven't been watching me long enough to think otherwise. This Benfica striker is another talent I'm almost pulling the trigger on, and I may have to bring in too. Speaking of Portuguese players, I'm trying to offload Ruben Neves now that I've brought in Al Jahani, because I also have Fabio Moretti, who I'd rather give the game time to. Speaking of game time, Moukoko is going out on loan because he doesn't get much here, so he gets some at Rome. Al Jahani will miss the first couple of games of the season with an injury, unfortunately. And the first game of the season, we missed 25 shots on goal, which led to a 0-0. The only good thing was that he did indeed play Andros up front, although obviously it was 0-0. However, I pulled the trigger on Pedro Pereira from Benfica for £41.5 million, which was his release clause. And I think it was a very good move indeed, because within 10 minutes of his debut starting up front, he combined with Rafael Leao to score against Girona. Of course, both are Portuguese, so that's great, and Pedri made it too on the 20th minute. But don't worry, Andros played from the right-hand side and he set up Pereira for his second in this 3-0 win. Straight into a 1-0 defeat against a team who could only get one shot on target. On deadline day, I'm accepting a loan for Consigli for first-team football at Villarreal. He's only come off the bench once so far in 3 games. And as he leaves, a bid for Ruben Neves comes in too, which we accept for Inter Milan. But he snubs the move annoyingly. Our rivals Real Madrid are busy, signing 3 players on deadline day in Wijndal, Garnacho and Mukiele, taking their total tally to £170 million this summer alone. And they have of course won all 3 games so far already this season. With our focus this season being to try and win the Champions League, it's not got off to a good start, losing 1-0 at home to Dortmund. It got a lot worse when Inter Milan absolutely knobbed us 5-0. Pereira is looking lethal in the league though, scoring 2 fantastic goals, breaking the defensive line and the offside trap. So maybe the league form has been much better. Well, not really, no. It's great to see Leao and Pereira link up well though, and is something we can hopefully benefit from, and especially if the likes of Ansu Fati and Andros gets involved too, we should be absolutely fine. But my god, we need to see a lot less of the losses in the next part of the season, especially in the Champions League, and luckily against Feyenoord we took an early lead within 6 minutes. But then we conceded an equaliser almost immediately, and then somehow we find ourselves 2-1 down at home when Jimenez scores. Pedro Pereira is there though to score, give us his second, and give us a 2-2 situation, before Andros found Leao with a wonderful cross and header. We take the lead again, and Pedro Pereira is there once again to make it 4-2, and we are only 28 minutes in. That's his hat-trick. He went on to score 4 goals in this 6-3 win. Absolutely mental. But this type of form carried on, and our new striker continued to score fantastic striker-like goals. And October was full of only one thing: wins. Pereira is absolutely loving his time in the Champions League as well, and it is exactly what we have been needing this whole time, for searching for a striker since Season 1 really, when Lewandowski got himself injured. He's been so consistent and scoring my favourite types of goals, including at another hat-trick in the Champions League. We are picking up injuries though, and having to play a lot of fringe players, and that has started to cost us points once again. Failing to win in our second trip to Milan this season already, just before the first El Clasico of the season. It was at home, and the new camp was silenced when Real Madrid's new signing scored the opening goal. Ansu Fati pulled us back level from the penalty spot, and there was another penalty given in the 96th minute, and it was Ansu Fati to take, but he missed, and Courtois denied and broke our hearts. We remained unbeaten during this period, but 3 draws in a row definitely hurt us, because Real Madrid just aren't losing games, and we are already 6 points behind them, as well as trailing in the league phase of the Champions League. The winter period, however, started to get a lot worse for us, because we also played PSG again, and they completely dominated us, and their team is frankly disgusting. They beat us 3-1 at home after going 2-0 up against us. The Catalan derby started with a penalty in the first half dispatched by Leao, and then I was very happy because Pedro Pereira had returned from injury and had an instant impact, setting up Andros for our second. And the young Mexican, who has been finding his feet on the right wing, peeled away from his defender, and Pedri's pass found him for a second and a third for Barcelona. Bruno Fernandes broke the deadlock against Atletico Madrid, and we could only steal 1 point from Ansu Fati's substitute appearance. A rough winter period with only 3 wins in our last 9 games. And our league charge has been hurt because of it, now 10 points behind the still unbeaten Real Madrid, and our Champions League future is also in jeopardy too. Goals wise, Pereira and Leao both have 17 so far with 3 assists, but look how good our 2 lone players are doing elsewhere. Consigli and Makoko have been having both great spells of first team football, as is the Bulgarian Ranchev, who by the way are loaned to Napoli for first team football as well. I haven't been mentioned the Ballon d'Or either, and that's because Mbappe has won every single season somehow. By the way, the expiring contracts list is a little bit crazy this season, with Jadon Sancho and Victor Osimhen to name a few, but I won't be making any moves here. I believe in these bunch of crazy lunatics who just need time to develop and take us to our ultimate goal, and hopefully a lot of luck considering we aren't the manager. Which, by the way, you can see in the top right here under my career statistics, yet to manage a single game, but rocking the best Afro-Tash combination in Spain. The actual manager Nascimento is back, putting on a show by the way, just a casual 7-3 win, followed by a 9-1 win in the Cup. And from those 2 results, right into a scrappy 1-0 win with the only goal from a penalty box scramble. In the Champions League, we go behind early against Aston Villa. Not great. It took until the second half before we could get on the score sheet too from Leao. And in the game we desperately need to win, we leave it so late as Pereira scores the winner in the 89th minute. And yet we still lose to Partizan in our final league phase game. But we just about qualify in 21st place with only 10 points. And we face Wolfsburg in the playoff round. Real Madrid just still not losing games though, and we are trailing them by 10 points. No transfer activity in January other than loaning this 6'4", 16-year-old from our youth academy out for first team football. We are also losing Neves on a free transfer at the end of the season to PSG, but no biggie. Back-to-back wins in the Copa del Rey against Girona and Vallecano. But with the second leg of the semi-final to play at a later date, it's one of those Madrids who also make it to the final. We played Cadiz in the league, and in the first half it was absolutely superb, starting with an Andros goal. The man of the match in this 6-0 win rightfully went to Ansu Fati, however, who scored a hat-trick. Although the second was a deflection from Leao's shot, but it was credited to Ansu Fati as a first half hat-trick, which put us in great form going into the Champions League against Wolfsburg, but they had other ideas, taking an early lead, and the goal scorer Scott caused us trouble down that left, creating the second, and now we are really in trouble. In the second half at the Nou Camp, by the way, we somewhat recovered with a goal from Andros, and from that loss into another in the league against Atletico Madrid. In Wolfsburg though, we were awarded a penalty and Leao did score it. But that only took the game into extra time and we needed an Ansu Fati goal late on to sneak into the round of 16 to face Man City, which was genuinely our next game, and Ansu Fati was the hero in the first leg this time round, scoring the only goal, this time from the right hand side. To say we shut out Guardiola's team was an understatement too. They were really poor. I'm sure when we get to the Etihad it will be a completely different story. Our league form hasn't been convincing though. Gavi popped up with a rare goal. In Manchester though, we got one shot on target all game. That was after 6 minutes from Andros. However, in an identical scenario in the second half, Man City scored their only goal through Yeremy Pino. And despite us having horrific player ratings ourselves in this game, we held on to a 2-1 aggregate lead. We bagged another 1-0 in the semi-final second leg in the Copa del Rey from our left back Balde. And we can almost shift our focus away from the league as we ain't catching Real Madrid, who still haven't lost a game, and we're in the quarter-final against Bayern Munich, as well as the Copa del Rey final against, yes, you guessed it, Real Madrid. And that's all happening in the next 4 games. The first leg was in Munich of the Champions League and Bayern scored early from the penalty. We shook that off though and swiftly equalised from Pedro Pereira after a beautiful overlap from Koundé, and 5 minutes later Leao was putting us into the lead from the spot. But once again, Bayern Munich scored from another corner, and the same man who reacted first last time put us back ahead within 5 minutes with a wonderful finish, 3-2. And check this out, De Jong's tackled the player in our box and then just freezes, gets tackled himself, and it's 3-3. What is he doing? Thankfully though, Pedro Pereira was on fire today and his run down the right never stopped. He cut inside and belts one into the corner to give us a 4-3 first leg win. However, before this game was up, Bayern Munich were on a fast break and Kalulu took one of them down to receive a straight red card, meaning he will miss the next couple of games, and it was in the 95th minute too. Back to the Nou Camp though for the second leg, which didn't start great when Cherki broke free and smashed in the goal to make it 4-4 on aggregate. Having Andros as a winger who is right-footed came in clutch as he received the ball and stayed wide before cutting it back perfectly for Pedri to slot home to put us 5-4 ahead. Still, with the tie in the balance in the second half, we needed some magic and Pedro Pereira did that by picking out Pereira to give us a 2-goal advantage. And not long after that, he turned that 2-goal advantage into 3, putting us into the semi-final against the team that beat us in the final last season, PSG. We didn't have such luck in the Copa del Rey final, however, as Garnacho found Hendrick's run and they scored the only goal of the game, which pretty much guarantees a domestic double for Real Madrid. And we have really fell off in the league after that game, including against Real Madrid in the last El Clasico of the season, who dominated us. They still haven't lost, by the way, and now we're in third. We had an obscene amount of injuries going into the PSG game. I felt sick. And we were going to need some luck if we were going to defeat the current holders at home, and we got that when Leao's shot deflected off Marquinhos into the net. And Pedro Pereira, who had to play further up the pitch because of those injuries, was great, and he scored an unexpected second against a run of play. And just like that, it all hangs in the balance for the second leg. We still have all our players out injured, but we somehow held on with our makeshift team without conceding a single goal. And our run of games after that was absolutely horrific as well, only winning 2 games in the league. We finished miles off the top spot, by the way, in third place too, behind Real Sociedad by 6 points, with Real Madrid going unbeaten all season. But it's the Champions League final time against Liverpool. Once again, with players like Pedro Pereira and Gavi missing out, Liverpool took the lead from Luis Diaz peach curled into the top corner. But almost straight from kickoff, we carried the ball down the other end, and it drops to Rafael Leao to bang in an equaliser. But this is where it all went downhill as Ivan Nielsen scored from what looked like an offside position to put Liverpool back in front. And from a corner, still in the first half, it's played back into the box and Brennan Johnson at the back post makes it 3-1. But with 75 minutes on the clock, we mounted a comeback and Pedro Pereira was the man to bag that goal. Could this happen? Well, as you can see, not really, because from our kickoff, defence fell asleep, Luis Diaz scored a second. And Liverpool cap off the win to lift the Champions League trophy and break our hearts with an Ivan Nielsen 5th goal, which is a second Champions League final loss in a row.